There is a purchase sitting in your home right now that you almost never use. You bought it because something shifted inside you the moment you imagined owning it. And that shift had almost nothing to do with the object itself. It had to do with a version of you that other people could see. You were not buying a thing, you were buying a signal, and the system that sold it to you has been engineering that exact feeling for a very long time. Phenomenon. You have done this. You walked into a room, a colleague's apartment, a dinner party, a friend's new car, and something changed in your body before your mind had time to register it. A quiet tightening. A flicker of assessment. You scanned without meaning to, measuring what they had against what you had, and for a few seconds the tally mattered in a way that felt embarrassing to admit. This is not a character flaw. It is not shallow or petty. It is one of the oldest social calculations the human brain runs, and it runs automatically, beneath language, beneath conscious intention. Leon Festinger identified it in 1954 and named it social comparison theory, the human drive to evaluate our own standing by measuring it against the people immediately around us. Not against a global average, not against an abstract ideal, against the specific people in the room right now. The phenomenon is everywhere once you name it. The car you bought after your neighbor upgraded, the watch you noticed when a colleague got promoted, the kitchen renovation that seemed perfectly fine until someone else's renovation appeared on Instagram. The comparison comes first. The justification follows. And between those two moments, a purchase decision is already half made. Mechanism. You did not choose to compare. Your brain chose for you, and it has been making that choice since long before consumer culture existed to profit from it. In 1954, Leon Festinger published his foundational theory of social comparison, establishing that humans have a fundamental drive to evaluate their opinions and abilities. When objective measures are unavailable, when there is no ruler, no test, no clear standard, we turn to other people as the measuring instrument. The problem is that consumer goods became one of the loudest, most legible signals we have. A handbag, a car, a kitchen. These objects say something about where you stand, and the brain reads that signal instantly. Festinger's insight was precise. We compare upward to aspire, and we compare laterally to calibrate. The aspiration drives purchase, the calibration drives anxiety, and the engine runs continuously, whether we are conscious of it or not. A 2020 study by Moyal and colleagues in the Journal of Behavioral Decision-Making found that even arbitrary social comparisons with strangers who share no relevant reference point, reliably produce malicious envy that reshapes behavior. Arbitrary. The comparison does not need to be fair, relevant, or chosen. It just needs to happen. And in a world of Instagram feeds and open plan offices and neighborhood streets lined with visible possessions, it is happening constantly. The social comparison engine did not emerge from consumer culture. It predates it by hundreds of thousands of years. And understanding where it came from is the only way to understand why it is so difficult to switch off. Will Storr, in The Status Game, argues that status seeking is not a vanity, it is a survival mechanism. In ancestral environments, rank determined access to resources, mates, and protection. Low status was not an embarrassment, it was a physiological threat. The brain learned to monitor rank obsessively because losing it was genuinely dangerous. That architecture is still running inside you. Geoffrey Miller's work in Spent builds the evolutionary case further. Consumer goods became a proxy for the fitness signals our ancestors read directly in bodies and behaviors. A peacock's tail, a lion's mane. These are honest signals of genetic quality, metabolically expensive to produce. Miller argues that luxury goods operate on the same logic. They are expensive, visible, and designed to be read as signals of capacity. The rational question, does this object improve my life, is not the question the brain is actually asking. The brain is asking, does this signal raise my standing in the eyes of the people who matter to my survival? A 2021 study by Nepomuceno and colleagues found that even testosterone levels modulate conspicuous consumption preferences. The drive is not cultural noise, it is biochemical signal. For most of human history, social comparison was bounded by geography. You compared yourself to the people in your village, your workplace, your street. The reference group was local, and its ceiling was visible. You knew roughly where you stood and what the top of your world looked like. Then the reference group exploded. Thalmor and Grosjean's 2014 research in social and behavioral sciences documented a direct, measurable relationship between social media intensity and conspicuous consumption. More time on social platforms predicted greater spending on visible, status-relevant goods. The mechanism is straightforward. Social media does not show you your actual peer group. It shows you the curated highlight reels of thousands of people, many of whom are wealthier, more traveled, and better dressed than your actual social circle. Your comparison engine, built for a village, is now running against a global seed of aspirational signals. The ceiling disappeared. There is no top to reach because the feed is infinite. Every scroll surfaces a new reference point above you, and the comparison engine, which evolved to motivate upward movement, has no off switch for a goal it can never reach. This is not accidental. The platforms and the brands whose products appear on them are as stored documents, deeply invested in maintaining the anxiety of relative position. The comparison engine is not a bug in the system. If you want to stop being the person this works on, hit subscribe. We decode a new manipulation system every week, and knowing it is the only defense that actually holds. Trap. Now you know how the engine works. Here is how it gets weaponized. Retailers, luxury brands, and platform algorithms have spent decades engineering environments specifically calibrated to the social comparison mechanism. They do not sell products, they sell relative position. And the most powerful tool they use is relativity itself. The relativity trick works like this. You never evaluate a purchase in isolation. You evaluate it against an anchor. A brand shows you a watch at $4,000, then a watch at $800. $800 feels like a bargain, not because $800 is objectively cheap, but because the anchor reset your reference frame. The same principle applies at the social scale. Show someone what their neighbor owns, and their existing possessions feel suddenly inadequate, not because anything changed, but because the comparison point moved. Sarathi's research on conspicuous consumption decision-making identified reference group influence as a primary driver of purchase behavior. The relevant question is not, do I need this, but what does my reference group have? Brands engineer both the reference group and the visibility of that group's possessions. They seed luxury goods into aspirational media. They place status objects in the hands of people whose lives their target consumers covet. They manufacture the comparison and then sell you the solution to the anxiety it creates. The relativity trick is about anchoring. The visibility premium is about something more insidious. It is the additional price you pay for an object specifically because other people will see it. Think about the last time you made a significant purchase. Did you spend more on the item that would be visible, the exterior, the brand marker, the thing that would be seen in public, than on the thing that would serve you privately? The kitchen you renovated before you renovated the insulation? The car you bought instead of the pension contribution? The clothing brand whose logo is placed precisely to be legible at 10 feet? Geoffrey Miller calls this the fundamental consumer paradox. We spend most of our money on signals, not on genuine enhancements to our well-being. The brain assigns value to objects in proportion to their signal strength, not their use value, and signal strength is determined by visibility, how many people will see it, how legible the status marker is, how clearly it communicates position in the hierarchy. This is why brands invest so heavily in logo placement, in the design of the visible exterior of products, in association with events and people that the reference group aspires to. They are not selling you a better product. They are selling you a more powerful signal. And the part of your brain that evolved to care desperately about rank pays a premium for that signal without ever asking whether the premium is worth it. Defense. You cannot turn the comparison engine off. Festinger proved it is structural, but you can stop feeding it money. The tool is a signal audit, a two-question framework applied to any significant discretionary purchase before you make it. Question 1. Who is this for? Not who benefits from it. Who is it for? Picture the specific people whose reaction to this purchase you are imagining. Name them. They may be colleagues, neighbors, a specific person from your past, a diffuse category of strangers on a platform. Now ask, do I actually want to impress these people? Do their opinions of me genuinely matter to my life? In many cases, the answer is no. You are spending real money to signal status to people you have either never met or do not particularly like. That is the comparison engine running unchecked. Question 2. What is the use value strict of the signal? If this object were invisible, if no one could see it, photograph it, or know you owned it, would you still buy it at this price? If the answer is no, the price you are paying above the use value baseline is the visibility premium. That is the precise amount you are spending not on the thing, but on the signal. This is not a case for austerity. It is a case for spending on what you actually value, rather than on what the comparison engine is running in the background without your permission. Will Storr's core argument in the status game is that we can choose which games we play. The first step is seeing that you are playing one. The signal is not the enemy. Humans have always used objects to communicate who they are, what they value, and where they belong. That is not going away, and it should not. The problem is not conspicuous consumption, it is unconscious conspicuous consumption. Spending driven by a comparison engine you never consented to run, pointed at a reference group you never chose, manufacturing anxiety on behalf of brands whose business model depends on that anxiety continuing. When you run the signal audit, you are not opting out of culture. You are opting out of the unconscious part. You are deciding which signals are actually worth the cost, to your account balance, to your attention, to the version of your life you are quietly building one purchase at a time. Festinger's 1954 insight was that comparison is social gravity. It pulls constantly, and the pull is real. But gravity does not determine where you go. It determines the force you have to work against. Knowing the force exists is what makes navigation possible. You are not buying a thing, you are buying a signal. Now you get to decide if the signal is worth it. If this changed how you think about status spending, explore why your fitness app is quietly killing your motivation. Link is on screen now. And if you have not already, hit subscribe. We publish every Wednesday.